Before I resigned, I lied to everyone and I told them that I had 5 one-on-one clients and that I was already making more than what I was making in the law firm. And it happened.
I was so unhappy and truly so terrified at what was going to happen to me if I continued to live my life on the trajectory that I was on.
No matter what your goal is in business, there is still a part of you that's like, wait, can I actually do this?
I increased my revenue by 311%, which is fucking insane.
Government job, no business, to full-time entrepreneur, multi-six-figure business. We need the formula, you know? By June, I had a $15,000 month, and then by that December, I was having 20K months.
That's fucking crazy. I truly feel now like I know what I'm doing, and that is priceless. I launched my podcast pretty much exactly 1 year ago. 5 days within the launch, we got ranked in the German podcast chart in the top 20.
A&A should be 4 times the price of what it is. I'm just saying.
You sound like all of my mentors who are like, Sam, this price is stupid. I'm shook that we haven't increased the price. I feel like this will probably be the last time that it's at this price.
Yes.
'Cause honestly.
This series where I'm letting you get an inside look at meeting some of my legacy clients, either the women that have worked with me for years and have scaled to multi-six figures alongside of me. If you are an entrepreneur, if you are building a personal brand or a digital business of some kind, stick around and hang out with us for all of the juice. You're going to hear from one of my clients who went from working a full-time draining job to now having her own business, being a multi-six-figure entrepreneur over several years of us working together. Her name is Becca. We're going to bring her on in just a second. You've been in all the spaces.
So I'm literally the perfect client.
You're my legacy.
I'm your child. I'm literally your child.
Truly, but I'm so proud of you. But for everyone who, is watching and doesn't know, they just see these shiny numbers now. Can you paint a little bit of a picture of like what you were doing in your career, what life looked like before we started working together?
So I did laugh when you said that I had a draining job beforehand, because that's absolutely true. I don't regret it. I think it gave me so much as a human, but I was working for the police. So I started out as a probation and parole officer, and then I moved deeper into that industry and I was doing 911 operating and dispatching. I just was really, really lost as a human. And I think I achieved great success very early on in my life. Like I was 19, 20. I already had that government job secured. I had a pension, I had benefits, I had a salary. So I was like, oh, okay, I've made it. Like this is what everyone has been telling me my whole life is what's going to make me happy. And this is what I've been striving for. And now I'm in my very early 20s and I'm here and I am terrified that I'm going to continue to do this work and live this life for the rest of my life. And that's when I really started to have that like identity crisis of like, okay, I'm looking at the people around me, the jobs that they're living, their health, the relationships that they're in, their financial status, and I'm not wanting to replicate that in my own life. And so that's when I started to seek out like therapy, started reading books, started listening to podcasts. And that's how I found you, went in from burnt out to badass. And then we were like, hey girl, the obsession that you have with the subconscious mind and like improving your life, but that's like not normal. You know what I mean? And so it was you that reflected to me of like, okay, I think you can absolutely do this. But before I was so unhappy, so lost, and truly so terrified at what was going to happen to me if I continued to live my life on the trajectory that I was on at that time, which is not a great place to be. I didn't actually have a business. Like I think some of the other girls that I was in Abundant and Ambitious with, like they already had a business. But at the time, me investing that amount of money in something that had not been born yet, hadn't come into fruition yet, like that didn't make sense to me. And that felt really scary to me. So I think that actual moment of me investing in Abundant and Ambitious was also me saying like, I have a business and I believe in myself enough to invest in my business. And hindsight is always 2020. And I know that we have spoken about this before, but looking back, I'm so happy that I did that because I know that people now wait to make money in their business before they invest in their business. And like, it just does not work like that. It doesn't work like that.
It's kind of like, okay, if I do this, then I actually have to show up online and build a personal brand and like sell stuff. And it was like that feeling of like, if I invest in this thing, then it's go time, which also I think is like a characteristic trait that you have that has helped you be so successful just within yourself. Like, what do you think have been some of those keys that have helped you in 3 years go from government job, no business, to completely full-time entrepreneur, multi-six-figure business, 30K months, living the dream, traveling whenever you want to. We need the formula, you know?
I think one of the first things that comes to mind is that even though we have obviously touched on in this line that like, yeah, there have been times where I have been scared and hesitant, I've never not believed in myself. Like I've never not believed that I could build this. I did always know that this is where we were going to end up. I always had that self-trust and that self-belief. And I'm also just a very confident person. I think that has a lot to do with my follow through and what we spoke to of like, if I say that I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So once I decide that I'm going to host my retreat, once I decide that I'm going to get to 30K months, like I'm going to put the work in to make sure that I get there. And I just continue to show up. Another thing that I think is really important that I think a lot of people don't have, is emotional intelligence, honestly, because I think throughout the past 3 years, I've gone through a lot personally and professionally, but I have never, ever tapped out of my business. I've never missed a podcast episode in over 3 years. Never missed a Monday email. Always showing up. Like we are always showing up. I've never canceled a goddamn client call. I've never shifted anything around because I treat my business like a business and I treat myself like a business owner. So even if shit is hitting the fan, can you imagine Walmart or Amazon or whoever? Every time the owner is having a bad day, they shut it all down. They stop showing up. That is not how businesses operate. So you have to strengthen that resilience. You have to strengthen that part of yourself that's able to compartmentalize because honestly, everyone has bad days. Life is lifing for every single person. So whether you work at Walmart or whether you own your own business, whether you're a massage therapist, like you cannot just throw in the towel every time you have a bad day. And to me, that creates the sensation of like starting and stopping in a car. It's like every time you have a bad day, you drop off the face of the earth, you abandon all your responsibilities. And it's like this start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, where other people that are around you who have that emotional intelligence and resiliency are just continuing to cruise. So obviously they're going to get there faster than you because you keep fucking stopping. So I think for me, I have that reflected to me a lot of like, there's stuff going on in my personal life, fires happening around me, things are getting flipped upside down. And I still continue to treat my business like a business and myself like a business owner because it is. And so as a result, things have grown so much. And I really do think that the emotional intelligence piece that we are speaking on is a huge contributing factor because I think that when people's life starts to life, they stop treating their business like a business. And that's just not how business works.
Yeah. Some people might hear this because there's the misconception, right? That like you create the freedom in your life as an entrepreneur so that you can take a step back or stop when you need to or do whatever. And I think there's this misconception there of like what you're speaking about means that you must be suppressing all of those emotions. And that's not at all actually what we're talking about. So I think it's that side of things that especially not enough women are coming to like the middle ground for. It seems like we're either over here, which is like, you deserve to rest. Like if you don't want to show up, like you don't have to, like, and then there's the other side of like hustle culture, which is like, nobody cares, like fucking show up no matter what. Actually, what we're speaking to is this like beautiful middle ground where you have a way to process, to regulate, to give yourself the time and still honor the commitments and like show up for your business like it's a business, which I think is really important to speak to. Because if we're on this journey, like you mentioned, if we just use that analogy of like stopping all the time, it's like we're on a road trip. You can pull off and refuel. But you don't need to like stop off for 5 days or 5 months every time like something happens.
Seeing other people's audacity, seeing other people's prices, seeing other people executing things so quickly was so activating for me. And it really like lit a fire under my ass and like showed me what was possible because I was the small fish and I was playing small. Being in the room with big dogs, I was like, okay, wait, like I can raise my prices. I can do this if I want to. I can show up this way. I can execute this. And without having people around you that are doing that, you don't do it. It's so funny because you go into a mastermind or whatever, and it's like, you're not expecting that the triggers and the interactions that you have inside of those spaces are going to be like some of your greatest teachers are going to be like, oh, the trainings and whatever. These sessions are going to be so amazing. But that in conjunction with other people and other people's businesses being mirrors, it's so, so powerful. This is not even diving into like the emotional and mental benefits of my business, which is like far and wide beyond what I'm going to share right now. But I mean, last year I increased my revenue by 311%, which is fucking insane. I went full time in my business. I had my first multi-six-figure year, 10K days, 30K energetic minimum months. I hosted and sold out my first retreat, which was absolutely iconic in Costa Rica. I have a full roster of clients 24/7. I'm not hoping that clients will come into my world. I have a wait list. I have a full roster at all times. I have a salary-based employee. I have an assistant that's on salary. And I have 65,000 downloads on my podcast. So those are just like some of the tangibles of where we're at right now. So I feel like what's really cool about this lab is 3 years ago, almost today, because I started Abundant Ambitious March 28th, 2022. Like, we're only 3 years in. Like, this is really crazy that I'm in the position that I'm in now to have all these wonderful milestones and be on year 3 of my business. It's truly mind-blowing.
Crazy.
Looking at the life that I'm living now, like I truly love the work that I do. I'm excited to wake up and get on calls with my clients and facilitate change for them and get into it. I love the work that I'm doing now. I'm obviously making incredible money. I don't stress about money. I have an incredible relationship with money. I live in a state of abundance. And for me also, I'm traveling the world. Like last year I went to Bali, Greece, Costa Rica. This year I've already been to Austria. A lot of different travel opportunities are coming up this year. Like, I am just living my dream life.
We're going to talk to MaKenzie in just a second. She's one of my clients that has been inside of Abundant and Ambitious and also top tier mastermind. She is a yoga teacher, but she's so much more than that. And she's really revolutionized her success and created so much within that niche and that industry that is just incredible. So I'm excited to bring her on. What would you say were the main pain points or like challenges? Like, where were you at in business before coming in that made you go, okay, like I want to make all these changes?
Honestly, I think it was one of the first hot seats, and I'm still so impressed with how quickly, Sam, you spotted it. And at the time, I think I was like affronted and offended because you worked so... No, in a good way. I just felt so like slapped with truth, like being like, oh God, it's hard to hear because it's something, you know, that phrase when it's like, it's so true. You're kind of like, ah. So I remember you kind of just, you were saying like, you're trying to do a lot, like you're doing too much basically. Because at the time, on top of when we started working together, my son was 4 months old. So I had a newborn, a baby on my tit. I'm breastfeeding. I'm not sleeping through the night. I'm trying to build a business with a partner. So splitting my time there. I'm also pouring into a corporate company and building up their legacy from running their yoga teacher training programs. And then I'm also trying to build out my own programs on the side. So just spread thin, to say the least. The biggest thing that you said then, and that was a thread throughout ANA as well as top tier, was like the idea of 10x is better than 2x, and where is the highest return for the least amount of effort, and can we focus on that? And so that was huge for me, was to be able to zero in on what's the most important and develop that, and also stay focused on that, because I think I was also from a place of insecurity, thinking that I always needed to build out new programs. So now I have the programs built and I'm able to rinse and repeat. And I know what that process looks like, because if you're training and mentorship, and I feel a lot more secure in that, the corporation that I was working for at that point saw me as competition and basically gave me this ultimatum and was like, okay, if you're going to run this program, then you need to leave. So either choose, you cannot run this program and stay here, or you can stay here and not do your own thing. And so it was that like push that I needed, and was also the sign that I was on the right track. But it was terrifying, to your point of, this is where I'm comfortable. This is where I've always been. This is where I built a reputation. And that was the transition that happened like right after I was finishing ANA and was thinking about doing top tier. And I was like, am I really leaving a job, like leaving all sense of security, and about to invest a lot of money into mentorship and support? This is either the worst time or absolutely the best time to do something like this. And I'm so glad I did, because I knew what to do inside the container. Like I knew how to lead the experience, but I didn't know what to do leading up to it and after it. And that's so key, of course, especially when you're doing things online. In my previous life, I was performing professionally on the Las Vegas Strip. So have my bachelor's of performance or have my BFA in musical theater and dance. So I was living in Las Vegas and was performing at night, teaching yoga by day. Loved my life, and it was beautiful. I really felt like I was getting to exercise both of these passions. But then when shutdown happened, everything really stopped and closed. And as all people did, you really shifted and tried to figure out how you can do the same thing, but through a different medium and in a different way. And so that's really when I stopped performing and was like, okay, I can still do yoga teaching online, and tried to pivot more to the online space in that time. And like everybody was just like throwing like noodles at the wall, like just trying everything. Like nothing was really sticking. And also like I didn't enjoy the process, which that's so important, is to, really think about like, what is the process and do I actually enjoy it instead of just the finished product? So I can't compare myself to other people who have a very different life than me. And I think that is the greatest blessing, the greatest gift really of my entire year with you. And again, you talk about this a lot of like, if this is your life's work, then what is the rush? And you've said that to everybody so many times, and it's just really stuck with me, because whereas before I started working with you, I did everything from the sense of like panic, like it has to get done because I want to raise a family. As much as I want a successful business, I also want a really big family that I am present for. I don't want the business to take away all my attention, to like ruin the energy and the time that I have to give to my family. I want both in some way. I want a family kind of more than I want a business. And now I've built it. I just need to nurture it a little bit every day and trust that it's growing in its own time. Basically burning everything down. It will feel like in the moment that you're taking 7 steps back. But it is that like drawing the arrow back movement so that you can really slingshot and propel forward with a lot of momentum and energy. And that time period did come for me with a little less income, because then I was focusing on building out the program. But you were like, you're building out the program. You're like, stay here and stay focused and build. And you really need that when you are in that position. And it's so easy to, like you say, get caught up in comparison or shiny object syndrome and thinking of what everybody else is doing and doing that busy work. And you talk a lot about this everywhere, of like having that sense of self-trust and that sense of secure CEO of like, no, I know what I'm doing. This is my strategy, and don't get caught up with what other people are doing.
The unseen benefits, the unseen returns on the investments that maybe you weren't expecting. Because I think when people go into things like this, they are obviously like, okay, well, it's going to help me, get more strategy or grow my business or improve my messaging or whatever. Those are all the kind of like obvious, visible ROIs that they might expect. Do you feel like you've experienced any of this kind of like ripple effect, invisible ROI of being in these spaces for the last year?
Yeah, 100%. And so many. I've mentioned a couple. I mean, just the amount of self-trust and not feeling like I'm in a rush are really big ones. The friends that I made inside these circles. Kayla from A&A came to my yoga class the other day. We live in Las Vegas together. She was like, hey, I was like, oh my God, hi. I guess also, I didn't even think of this before, but it came up while you were asking the question. The 4 years of throwing the spaghetti in the wall or just like shooting in the dark, I truly feel now like I know what I'm doing. And that is priceless. Whereas before I was like, I don't know how it's going to go. I think this might be a strategy, but I'm kind of guessing. I'm just like doing what I think feels right. And now there's so much more, like so much learning and education behind like why I'm doing things and positioning and like just smart little differences and tweaks that make a huge difference. So having that feeling of I got this, I know what I'm doing. And that's kind of what I said to you at the end of this. I was like, you've given me so much. I know what I'm doing. I just need to like take a year to do it now, like implement it, because the information is so full bodied and like robust and well-rounded. Like the amount of training and education that you provide is a degree. Like we should get a certificate or something.
I can print some. Do you guys want certificates? I'll make some.
I'm really glad that I left the place that was like, it's either us or you. So that was like a huge power move, and I think you do this so beautifully of using all of your life and the situations in all of your content and like telling us these stories of what's going on and allowing us to be a part of your life, but also using it in a way that's like, here's the lesson that I'm learning in this. And that creates really captivating content that people are really attracted to. So I felt like during that time when I'm telling my side of the story, that my audience just like got to know me in a deeper way and that they saw me in a different way and like respected the way that I handled that situation. So I also felt like that was a power move of how I handled it. And also the content that I was creating during that time helped my audience like get to know me on a deeper level. So I've definitely learned how to do that from your example and through your trainings. I just have really let go of like a lot of things and partnerships and relationships. And I feel like I'm able to kind of say, this really isn't worth my time anymore. And so thanks, but no thanks. And not feeling bad about that, not just professionally, but personally, you know, and really being able to know what's worthwhile right now because my time is so limited. It has to be really worth it. I had this sense of knowing and intuition that it was the right thing to do and that I definitely just wanted it to be with you as well. I felt like I learned so much from A&A. A&A should be 4 times the price of what it is. I'm just saying.
You sound like all of my mentors who are like, Sam, this price is stupid. You know how many years we've had it at that price? Like, I'm shook that we haven't increased the price. I feel like this will probably be the last time that it's at this price.
Yes.
Because honestly,
and the trip itself, I also just really needed that. I think motherhood brings this whole sense of obviously an identity change, but also of a like social structure shift. And I just was really seeking and craving friendship from women who were doing what I wanted to do and who inspired me, doing it in ways that I admired as well. So I knew that was also key and instrumental, was just being, you talk about this all the time, being in the right room and being surrounded by the people who are doing what I'm doing, if not way more.
Can you share some of the biggest milestone moments that you've had in your career as an entrepreneur so far?
Honestly, every person that's watching this replay should take themselves through this exercise because as always, we're doing so much more than we give ourselves credit for. But I guess the biggest breakthroughs, especially since being in what I call Samantha Daily University, which was all of last year, where I learned the ropes of successful online business ownership. Launching my podcast was huge last year, as well as just building out, well, first tearing down my offer suite as it was and rebuilding it from the ground up in a way that supported motherhood in a way that felt a lot more like what I envisioned. So built out everything last year, from my subscription, which now replaced my income and made it possible for me to really leave corporate and public yoga teaching, which was huge for me to have a lot more time at home. And then also building out my group program and mastermind, which is so much more scalable and also just so much less of my time. And again, just frees me up to be at home, which is what I'm really, really wanting.
I'm going to bring Jess on in just a second. She is one of my Australian clients and has created so much success for herself within the coaching space. So I'm excited to share some of her keys to how she's done that with you guys.
When I jumped into A&A, I was making about $3,000 per month. I had a signature program and I was also working with one-on-one clients. I had obviously been able to draw in clients, but it wasn't enough to earn enough to leave my job. So I knew I needed more. I needed more leads and I needed more people in my world. I kind of knew what I needed to do. Like, you've got to market yourself on social media. I had a podcast, so it's like, be consistent with the podcast, but I was lacking the belief and normalizing actually just being a coach who was making this kind of money. So that was a big reason why I needed to be in A&A, just to be in a room with someone like yourself who was doing what I wanted to do. Suddenly it comes down from the pedestal and you're like, oh yeah, this is possible. Like, I haven't just made this up in my mind and it's all too good to be true. So it was definitely a mix of mindset, but also just like wanting to learn from someone who was where I wanted to be. But making about $3,000 when I jumped into A&A. In the April, I had a $10,000 month. By June, I had a $15,000 month. And then by that December, I was having 20K months. So it was huge growth. Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. I was earning the money, but it felt like at any moment I was going to lose it. And there was this part of me that's like, wait, is this actually happening? Like, am I actually earning this much money from this business that doesn't feel like work, that I love every single day? Like, this is supposed to feel harder. So I got in my head towards the end of that year going into the next year, which is obviously why I got into top tier, because I'm like, okay, now I need to normalize where I'm at now. So I think there's a lot to say, like growth quick is amazing, but you've got to have the people around you to stop it being so wobbly, because that it's a weird thing to say, but that then starts to come on. It's like, wait a second, at any moment, what if this all just falls away? Like, what if the clients actually do stop coming? So I probably should have stayed in a container for the rest of that year just to have someone hold me up while all the money was coming through and just normalize that kind of growth. But I mean, that aside, it was also great to be making all of this money. Like I said, my business never feels like work. Like I'm so lucky with what we do. You're the same. That year I bought my dream car, which was literally on my vision board for 3 or 4 years, a beautiful, sexy Mercedes Benz. So that's parked in my driveway, which was a vision board moment. Just traveling and having the freedom, because that was a huge reason I started my business.
What about the people in your life? Like, what about your husband and the people around you? What were they like thinking of this process, from like when you were like, I want to quit being a lawyer, to then actually like making potentially more money than you were making as a lawyer and being full-time in your business? Like, what was that like? Did people like see the vision and believe all like right away? Or was there like any resistance to them being like, are you sure? Are you okay?
Before I resigned, I lied to everyone and I told them that I had 5 one-on-one clients and that I was already making more than what I was making in the law firm, just so that they would get off my back.
Or like not contaminate your like energetic space with like being worried about you or fearful for you.
Literally. And up until that, I was like convincing them. I'm like, guys, just trust me. I can get this done. And that wasn't working. I'm like, well, you know what? I don't need your support. I don't need your belief. I've got enough within myself. And so I said that I had enough clients to go full time. My resignation period was 4 weeks. So when I put my letter in, I had 1 one-on-one client and told everyone I had 5. But in that 4-week period, I attracted the 5 in, and by the time
I remember this. I remember talking about this on A&A calls where you were like, I have to get 5 clients by the time I'm done working here.
and it happened. Yeah. So I'm like, so I lied to everyone. So no, not everyone was very supportive of it. They were looking at the risk, the usual stuff that we get from people who aren't in this with us. But by the 4 weeks, I got the clients, and so I was fine and I was earning the income. Still to this day though, I'm going 3 years in full time in my business, and I'll talk about how much I'm earning and they're still like, wait, are you? Like, I've been making the whole thing up. I'm like, yes, I am. So that's seen a lot. And like, I do really hear the women who don't really have that support network within their family. Again, another reason to get into these masterminds and these mentorships, because that was my family. They were like, you are ridiculous for leaving a job as a lawyer to jump into this online space. Like, what? Like, you're crazy. So I feel like don't wait around for them to approve. Like, you've just got to back yourself and know that you can make this work, and then surround yourself with the women who will believe in you. In top tier, I have to get up at 2:00 in the morning to be there for our calls, but I'm like, I want to grow my business. So it's just what we do. You could get wrapped up in that, but it's just not worth it. Like, you just got to do what you got to do to get into the room. And once you're in the room, you actually forget that you have paid more than the US girls. You're like, it is, as you said, it's just the investment and it's worth every single dollar, whatever that looks like for you. And then the time zone thing, well, you just got to suck it up.
You just gotta stop. You're like, you just need to be a committed bitch like me, because she's on our calls at 3:30 in the morning and she's like ready to go. She's got her like her cup of coffee or whatever, and she's like, all right, we're locking in 1 day of the week. Like,
yeah.
How bad do you want it? How bad?
Yeah. We can learn what goes into running a business, like especially with ChatGPT. Like, you want to know something, you just chuck it in and you'll learn it. But actually being in the room was the biggest thing for me, because again, like, it brings these goals off the pedestal. And like, no matter what your goal is in business, there is still a part of you that's like, wait, can I actually do this? And the moment you're in a room with women that's like, yeah, of course you can. Like, in the next couple of months, it's so possible. It just normalizes everything and it all becomes so possible. I think no matter where you are in your business, there's always more for you to learn. And I think sometimes in business, we get in this place where we're like, no, I'm fine. Like, I'm making money. Like, my business is bringing in clients, but you only ever know what you know. So if you know you've got more in the tank in terms of revenue, impact, then you've got to change what you're consuming, and just have those different perspectives thrown at you. Like, just the other day on our coaching call, I came to you, I was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do next for a launch. And you're like, no, you're not. You're going to go and do this instead. I'm like, okay, no, you're right. You're right. Like, I was literally only going to do that launch because it probably did feel a little bit comfortable. And so just having that 5-minute conversation with you, I was like, no, you're so right. So that seems so simple, but unless you're having those moments throughout your business, you'll just keep going probably the easier route, whether you know it or not.
What do you think are some of the best things that you did where you're like, I'm so glad I did that because it really, really helped me or like taught me something or like changed the game for me in some way?
Taking the leap before I was ready, 100%. Leaving my job, business exploded after that. Buying my car, I know that seems like an irresponsible decision, but every time I'm in that car, I'm just like, oh, I just feel so good and successful. And like, I feel, and I'm big on frequency, like to make money, you've got to feel worthy of it. So buying my car was another thing. Of course, that was scary. And everyone around me was like, that is a silly investment, but well, not even an investment. You lose, you won't drive out.
Yeah.
But I just knew that that's what I needed to do to grow my identity and my brand. So there's been other moments throughout there where I just like leapt. My immersion actually, like that was a big deal in my business. Like suddenly going from the online space to in person, there's so much involved. Like that's a production to have these in-person events. But I just threw it out there and we sold out. So leaping before I was ready, 110%, and just constantly having conversations with people who are further ahead than I was. Like I've had to remind myself throughout that because I have a lot of friends who are also self-employed, but we're kind of hanging out at the same level. And again, like the conversation stays the same. No one's really challenging you. So whether you're in a mastermind or you're just like plugging into podcast episodes where they're making more, going to networking events, like just getting yourself in rooms, however that looks, with women who are a little bit further along so that you feel like the small fish again. And you're like, wait a second, my money sucks compared to them. Or wait, what I'm doing in my business is tiny compared to that. And suddenly you're expanded again. I remember saying to you, I get married in 6 months' time. It's actually not a good time for me to jump in. And so I pulled that excuse card. I didn't do it. And literally not much changed in my business as a result of it. I was in the same position, doing the same thing, having the same thoughts, like nothing changed. So when it come around again the next time, my life was actually even busier, which is usually the case. Like there's never a right time. And it will probably get busier and busier. Like I don't know where you're at in your life, but like marriage, kids, whatever else comes after that, like your life isn't going to get less busy. It's always going to get more chaotic. So in that case, it had, like now I'm in the thick of a wedding, which is a lot. You've got all that to look forward to. But honestly, it was like, all right, if I don't do this, I'm going to be in the same position in the next 6 to 12 months. Am I okay about that? And I was not okay about that. So it was like, all right, well, we just make the time. And I think it's really not that much more time in your week. I think we make it out like, I don't know, we're going to be like doing these huge days and it's just like this gigantic thing on our to-do list. But it's really not. Like, of course, you've got to show up for your calls and you've got to do the workshops and there is more you'll have to do, but it's not going to take over your entire life. I had a huge growth in 2023. 2024, it grew again. Like we increased the revenue by another $60,000. So it's not like I was stuck, but I just knew there was way more in me. And I knew I was only just scratching the surface. I see this brand as a 7-figure brand and 6 figures isn't 7 figures. So I'm like, all right, time to get into a room and learn the roadmap to 7 figures. While 2024 was a huge year of like launch after launch, I did an in-person immersion, like podcast episodes. Like it was a huge year in terms of activity and obviously revenue, but I just still felt like I was kind of cruising, which is weird to say because it was a huge year. And I just knew that in myself. I just knew that I was still playing small. And I mean, just because you're busy doesn't mean you're doing great in your business, you know, and that's kind of how I felt. I felt busy, but I felt like I was barely scratching the surface on the potential that I could be hitting in my business. So yeah, I guess like feeling a little bit comfortable in my business and also realizing that if I went into 2025 without working with a coach like yourself, it's very likely that 2025 would have kind of looked like 2024. Increased a little bit in revenue, like the workload probably would have been the same. And I want another quantum leap. So it's just like, all right, well, you've got to mix things up. You've got to do something different to create change. My brand is based on freedom. So this year is a bit of an experiment. Let's see how much money I can make while also living my best life. So traveling more, spending more time with my husband, which is still so weird to say, going home and seeing my family and knowing that by living my life, I don't have to sacrifice the amount of money I'm making. So it's kind of like make a lot of money, but also live a lot this year and lean back in a way, but also still put my foot on the accelerator. So just like taking a look at like, okay, where am I wasting time? What products in my suites aren't worth spending any time on? And just like refining, going deep on the things that do make a lot of money so that I can go and do the things that I also enjoy. So that's my vibe this year. Like you called it like your soft girl era last year. So it's like that a little bit, but super rich at the same time.
Yes, I love it.
Hitting six figures was definitely a milestone because that was the salary that I was earning as a lawyer. And so it was like, if I can make this happen in my business, then I know I've made it. So that was a huge milestone for me. But also just going full time in my business, like that was a big deal, leaving a career that I had wanted my entire life. And, you know, the mold is if you are in a career like that, the possibility to climb the ladder is so vast and there's so much money. And so I was so wrapped up in that identity. So to work through that and be okay about leaving that career was huge. To actually step into the business and then, have a six-figure year within the first year of going full time was very exciting. And the business has just continued to grow, which obviously is something that we want, but you do go into this wondering if that's actually going to happen. And I think there's so much that goes into creating a business that has that momentum. But in my case, it really has just continued to grow. We've had 20K months so far this year. We've already crossed 86K in contracted revenue and we're only in March. So it's like everything I wanted it to be, but also like the impact I'm making with my clients, like actually getting to work with clients who appreciate you and put in the work. It's literally just the best.
That's so freaking cool. 86K already bagged for the year for 2025, and we're not even done quarter one yet. That's insane growth, which is so, so cool. You're going to get to meet one of my clients who has worked with me for many years, has been in several of my masterminds programs. I'm so excited to introduce you guys to Alica.
I was doing okay with my one-to-one coaching. So I had a coaching program that was just one-to-one services. It was also my first year in business. And I think I had made like 40K something the year like prior to joining A&A. So I was like, okay, this is cool, you know, without much help, I was able to start my business and make money off of that, but I was just ready to grow and like, you know, do more. So I was like, okay, I want to join A&A. The biggest reason at the time was I was ready to build a new program and I wanted help with that because I didn't have a real strategy to launch something properly. I was just like winging it with my stories and I wanted to learn how to do it right. So that's why I joined A&A at the time, to learn that. And then also because I was craving deeper connections with other female entrepreneurs at the time. I felt so lonely. I didn't have any women in my circle who are in business. So that was also a big reason why I did that. After A&A, I think around a year later, I joined Top Tier also. It was mainly because I was ready to be expanded again. So I felt like the bigger fish in the pond like before that. And I was ready to be around women who were making so much more money than me and just really get expanded. And that's also what really happened for me in that place.
Would you say that now you are living in your dream life?
100% I live in my dream life. That does not mean that I don't have any challenges anymore, days where I'm sad or anything like that. Of course, I still experience that. But just so many things in my life have shifted over the past years. Well, first of all, I get to do what I love every day. I get to wake up and do like a work that actually fulfills me, that I deeply care about. I can have an impact on other women's life. This work is so close to my heart. So that's a big part of me living my dream life. Then what I mentioned before, just the friendships that I have now with Becca, for example, is just on a whole nother level. You played a huge part in that because without you, I think I would have probably never met her. In such a beautiful, committed relationship. We've been together for 7 years. There were a lot of investments that year prior to joining Top Tier, but when you launched it and it was the first time that you launched it, like it just felt right. And I knew I wanted to take the next step with you. So I actually didn't really overthink it that much. I trusted my gut, honestly, and just went for it before my ego and all my fear and doubts could creep in. At that time, I felt like, do you really think I can already join this space? Like, maybe I'm not there yet. And you were like, listen, we both know that like, you're gonna make 6 figures this year. So let's fucking go. I can't say, oh, now that I launched my podcast, like I got so many more sales like the next day. Cause like you always say, it's a long-term game. But definitely my brand, I feel like, has become so much stronger. Also, I think the amount of time that it takes for women to feel like to trust me and to join my offers is shorter now because they feel like they maybe know me better because they've been able to listen to all my podcast episodes and not just watch my stories or like consume my content. So that has definitely helped. And I think the podcast has brought a lot of excitement back into my work. That has helped in like getting to the 6-figure mark and like just feeling better in business because I have a passion project again, I guess. Be able to go deeper. Depth is a very big value of mine. Like, I'm kind of annoyed with like everything that's going on social media at the moment. I want to be able to go deeper. And so that's the podcast been very helpful for that as well. I really just felt like the investment that I'm about to make in this space is going to help me with the things that I might be struggling right now. So I'm investing in this mastermind to make more money. You know, it's not like I'm spending this money and then it's gone, but actually, yeah, like just a couple months later, I made that investment back plus much more. And also knowing that I was going to land in a space with other women who earn much more already, they can like inspire me and motivate me and help me to grow also as a person. And I thought it's this classic upper limit problem almost, that when you feel like, okay, now I live in this apartment, that's a beautiful manifestation, like my relationship is going great, like who am I to now also get to have this beautiful business and like join this space, and maybe this is a little bit too much and like I should, play it safe rather. And I'm just so happy that at that time I didn't buy into this belief. Maybe because I'm also, a mindset coach and I know that these things happen, but I just noticed the pattern playing out in my mind of like, oh, maybe this is too much. Maybe you should play it safe. And I just consciously decided not to believe these fucking thoughts and just pull the trigger and invest. I always tell my clients, like, if there's fear, but also excitement, that's my sign that this is the next step that I have to take. Like if there's only fear, no excitement at all, maybe not do it. But if there's also excitement, then it's like, it's go time. For me personally, it was very good to start with a one-to-one coaching offer, like program at the time that I started my business, to have something, get experience first, feel very solid in what I do, be able to help a lot of women, and then going to the next step where I was like, okay, now maybe because I see that this is working, I'm kind of at my capacity with one-on-one clients, I'm ready to take the next step. And that's when I joined A&A to like build out Evolve. So my first business coach was a German coach that I started working with him when I didn't have anything. I did not even make like a single cent before I started working with him. So that was the best decision ever because he helped me build my one-to-one program. Then I joined A&A. You helped me build Evolve, which is my like signature group program to this day. So yeah, this was the best decision. Definitely getting help, starting with one offer, getting really good at it, growing it until it can't be really grow more anymore. Then I, like I said, started my group program. I learned how to implement strategies. I'm very grateful I learned this from you, just like going into a launch feeling prepared now, actually being able to recycle launches, not needing to reinvent the wheel every single time. That's also something that you helped me with. So implementing strategies and structures. My biggest milestones, I guess the first thing to mention would be that I've been able to generate multiple 6 figures in the past years in my business. So I'm in the 6-figure land. I had my biggest sales week just in November last year. It's just a couple months ago. I hit 40K in a week, which is wild to me. First time that has ever happened. That was so cool with tools that I learned from you, both in A&A and Top Tier. I launched my podcast pretty much exactly 1 year ago, which was pretty wild to me. Just 5 days within the launch, we got ranked in the German podcast charts in the top 20 in the category of spirituality. So that was so cool. Definitely manifested that. Yeah. And the last thing that I wanted to mention, I think, would be that I hosted my first ever event, my in-person event in 2023, where I had 50 women attend from like many different cities all over Germany. So yeah, I've definitely been in other courses and spaces before. And I would say the biggest difference just to be in your courses, Sam, is, well, first of all, the energy. I feel like, we just really vibe with each other, and it's so nice to just be in your energy specifically, but also the kind of women that you attract into your spaces are really just like my vibe. I mean, I found my best friend in top tier. So that's one thing. And then also just the hands-on support. So I'm in a mastermind right now, again, with a German coach. And it's just like, it's not like I can't even compare to what I've been learning from you of just like someone who really cares about you, who's available in the chat to actually like give you advice and support. We can go on hot seat coaching calls and ask you stuff. So it's very hands-on, not just from you, but also from the other women. So I would always say if you desire to be in a space with a coach who actually, well, first of all, gives a shit about you, second of all, has a lot of experience, and third, like wants to help you and is actually there and available, then such a good idea to work with you.
Thanks, Kenz, for coming on. Thanks for coming on, my love. Thanks for coming on, babe. Thank you so much for coming on. Bye, guys. Mwah. Bye. Bye.
Bye.